atmosphere, they do not allow the heat to escape, and the planet starts getting hotter, and climate change and other things are possible. So it is said that 25 to 30% of greenhouse gases are coming due to agriculture, and most of the agriculture today, which is being practiced, you may be shocked to know, it is not for growing food for human beings, but it is actually being grown for animals. To feed animals grains, to feed animals grass, we are actually cutting down a lot of forests, and we are growing food to feed these animals of the meat and the dairy industry, and we are in turn then eating or drinking the secretions of these animals. So these animals, being much bigger in size than us, they have more feeding capacity, and they are large animals. So that's why we have to grow a lot of grain and grass and fodder for these animals. So that's why 30% of greenhouse gases, we think, maybe it's coming because of travel, because of taking flights or transport, other forms of transportation and all that. Yes, that too has an impact, but you see, 1/3 of the impact is coming from meat and dairy. And if we eliminate meat and dairy from our diet, it would not only stop deforestation, but it would allow new forests wherever forests have been cut down to make way for pastures, to make way for feeding of animals, processing of their meat and the dairy products. All these things, if they go away, we will have so many new, massive new forests which can come back and which can absorb all these greenhouse gases, stop the emissions, and we can get back the health of our planet. We can claim the health of our planet back. So you see that it is much more visible in the rainforests of the world. The biggest rainforests exist in Brazil, right? So they are known as the lungs of the planet. But in countries like Brazil and other countries in South America, where a lot of rainforests are disappearing, it is because a lot of cattle is being the cattle industry is very big there because of the beef and the dairy usage. So countries like Argentina, Brazil, and all that, they export a lot of meat to US and Western European countries at the cost of the forests of their own country. The richness and the diversity of the wonderful forests of the Amazon are disappearing. You can see how much deforestation. It is said that big football fields of forests are being cleared at an alarming rate. And it is because of animal agriculture. Animal agriculture means growing food for feeding animals whom we will eat or extract their milk later on. So animal agriculture is responsible for 91% of Amazon destruction. That means a large part of the forests are being destroyed for feeding animals. And we may think, okay, how does it matter? It's somewhere far away in Brazil. How can we stop it, or how does it even matter to us? But we have to understand that the Amazon rainforests are known as the lungs of the earth. They are so thick, they are so lush, they have the potential to cause widespread climate change. Right? So when those forests are gone, we have lost so much of this climate regulating capability of the forests, and we also lose so much biodiversity and wealth which exists in the forest. So when we really look at the facts about animal agriculture, many of these are very, very shocking. Animal agriculture is responsible for 18% of greenhouse gas emissions, which is more than the combined exhaust coming from all transportation. So if you really calculate the exhaust coming from planes, all the buses are transport, ships, everything, if you put together, But still, more than that, the animal agriculture is responsible, up to 18% of greenhouse gas emissions. And you look at the consumption of water. In US, they have found that only 5% of water is consumed by private homes, but 55% of water is consumed by the animal agriculture industry. Because these pastures take up a lot of water, then the animals have to be given water, then the animals have to be bathed, the place, the shed, wherever these animals are kept, that has to be cleaned. So all this takes a lot of water. Livestock or livestock feed occupies 1/3 of the Earth's ice-free land. So already the amount of usable land on the Earth is quite small, right? Because most of it is ocean. And in the remaining land, a lot of the water is actually stuck in glaciers. And we have very less fresh water. And that fresh water a large part of it is being used for animals. And the small amount of land we have, even in that 1/3 of that, if you remove the parts which are like forests or having the ice, like the entire content of Antarctica is unusable, right? So when you really look at the useful land of that, 1/3 is occupied by animal agriculture. So 1/3 of the planet is desertified, with livestock as the leading driver for deforestation. So the amount of deserts on our planet are increasing, and it is said that animals who graze, who eat up everything, who do not allow any saplings to grow, they are contributing to desertification of our planet. It is said that deserts like Thar and Sahara, they are expanding because, of deforestation. 3/4 of the world's fisheries are exploited or depleted. All the fish in the sea are today overfished, and the amount of fish in our waters is alarmingly low. When fish is caught, it's not like how we imagine it to be, like somebody sits on the bank of a river or sea and catches fish one by one. Today, there are huge vehicles called trawlers which are taken into the sea, and a huge net is just thrown in, and all the sea animals which are trapped inside the net, they are brought out. Many of them die because of suffocation. Now, whatever is left, even among those, there are things like sharks and tortoises and seabirds which get caught up in the net, but they cannot be used for trade, right? So they are thrown back into the sea. Some of them are already dead, and some of them maybe half died. So they are thrown back into the sea, and only the usable fish is used, which is a small part of the whole catch. But that's how it is being done. We have lost somehow the regard for life of other creatures, it looks like. So we are overfishing our oceans. 90 to 100 million tons of fish are pulled out from our oceans, and a lot of it is packaged and sold, or it is delivered fresh to supermarkets. We don't even know what is happening behind the scenes. 80% of antibiotics sold in the US is for livestock. Livestock means the cows and the buffaloes and the poultry, the birds, the egg industry, all the other animals like pigs, those animals which are used for food. Because of overcrowding and keeping them in dark sheds, they tend to be depressed, they tend to be sick in their body. And what do? Instead of taking proper care, we just give antibiotics to these birds or animals, because frankly, nobody has the time to even spare a thought for these poor animals. So these antibiotics are mixed with the fodder or with the feed and just given to all the animals. So you see, 80% is being used for livestock. And this whole thing about human hunger is actually a big sham. we are actually growing enough food to last a lot of people, up to 10 billion people we can feed. But most of the grain is being mismanaged today because of human greed, right? People want to charge extra, so they hold it and keep. It's not distributed properly. Many of these things, they just are there in the go down, and rats and other things are eating up the stock. So the truth is that we are growing enough food to feed 10 billion people. That means much more than the population of this planet. But it is not reaching everybody, right? And more than that, most of this grain is actually going to feed animals. So worldwide, 50% of grain is fed to animals. So you see, it's so much of wastage of the earth's resources. To grow grains, you need to dig up the soil, you need to put fertilizers, you need to water. So a lot of resources are being used for something which we know is not called necessary. So if you are living a plant-based lifestyle, your footprint on this planet is also very light. So if you were a vegetarian, right? So here the basic calculation is land required to feed one person for 1 year. So if it's a plant-based person, only 1/6 of an acre is enough to help that person live comfortably. But if it's a vegetarian, we need three times as much as a plant-based person, because dairy needs animals, right? Then if you're a meat eater, it is 18 times as much as what is needed on a plant-based diet. So that shows that when we are on this plant-based path, when our food is majorly plant-based, we are decreasing the amount, the environment footprint we are leaving, right? So we are not utilizing too many resources, not utilizing too much land, because actually growing and eating our food is quite simple. Now you know that most of our diet is going to be very simple, right? So if you are living a plant-based lifestyle, just 1/6 of an acre is more than enough. So there are many reports and studies which have been done by many of these world organizations. So in 2017, the World Wildlife Fund said that animal uh, consumption is responsible for 60% of all biodiversity loss. Biodiversity means the number of different forms of life we have on this planet. So the more we consume animal products, the greater will be the loss of biodiversity. So methane and nitrous oxide are also greenhouse gases. We probably only knew about carbon dioxide, but methane is 20 times as harmful as carbon dioxide, and nitrous oxide is 300 times more powerful than carbon dioxide. So these gases remain in the atmosphere for a long time, and these gases are produced by these animals. So when we have a large dairy farm, a lot of this waste can be generated, and this will go and increase the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere and cause more harm, more climate change and all those problems will happen. Not only that, these animal farms, they generate a lot of waste. Remember I said that these animals poop a lot, then they pass urine, then their sheds have to be cleaned, a lot of fodder has to be bought. In effect, a lot of resources are being used. A farm with 2,500 dairy cows produces a lot of waste, the same waste as a city of 411,000 people. So you see how much of waste is generated by these farms. And where do you think all this waste goes? Finally, it is all going to get into our water bodies and end up in the ocean. The oceans are going to get more acidic. See, we see, what is happening outside is being reflected in our body also. We are making our environment and the seas more acidic. And that's what is happening to our body also, right? By consuming these products, our body is also getting acidic. Now coming to our oceans are very precious. That is where life started. If we need to have a thriving ecosystem, our oceans has to be protected. So there is really no separate oceans, right? It's all just one water body. 70% or more of our planet is covered with water. And what is happening is that our water is become very polluted. So we think that we have seen campaigns saying that don't use straws, reduce plastic usage, everything ends up in the sea, which is true. We should not be using straws and other things unnecessarily. So if you're going to drink coconut water or anything like that, please take your own straws from home. So I have a traveling kit whenever I step out, I keep a spoon, a fork, a cup, then a straw and a small plate. So all these things can easily fit into the bag. And even if you are going out and drinking sugarcane juice or something, instead of taking a cup from the vendor, which is going to be a paper or a plastic cup, then just drink it and throw it. Instead of that, take your own cup, take your own straws. So microplastic makes only 8% of the waste in the seas. Most of the waste, 46%, you know what waste is there in the ocean? It is discarded fishing nets and fishing gear. So these huge nets which are thrown into the sea, sometimes they get entangled in the sea weeds or other obstacles, and the net tears, the fishing line tears, so many things happen, and they are just left in the ocean, and they keep floating, and they never they never disintegrate. They take a very long time, and meanwhile, all this plastic wastage is going and getting stuck in the throats of animals. Sometimes the animal's head is stuck in the net. The animals, you know, being curious, they don't understand these are artificial. They try to eat it and then they choke to death. So a lot of things are happening, and one of the main things is because of the appetite for meat and dairy, the oceans are getting polluted. Here you can see the orange colored, um, you know, the orange color around some continents. That's where a lot of the animal waste is getting into the oceans. India has the highest concentration of dairy cows. So we are the biggest dairy industry. So you see all that waste is getting into the oceans and causing ocean acidification and ocean dead zone. So wherever the ocean is acidified, nothing will grow there. It's basically a dead zone. You see, even in India, because of the white revolution, because the government around the time when we got independence, they thought that milk production needs to be increased. They wanted India to be a big milk producing nation. So they came out with a lot of schemes to increase the production of milk. Even now that is happening. It's very unfortunate because we are not realizing the destruction of our health and environment, which is being caused by dairy. So you see the production of milk has been increasing. That means more and more dairy. What happened? Where did the so more and more dairies are being established and milk production is being increased. So of course that will have an effect on the water production, on the water resources, on the waste being generated. So you see a cow's milk, per liter of cow's milk, how much of land is needed to grow fodder and all the other resources to produce that cow's milk. But if you have other plant-based milk like soy milk, oats milk, almond rice, it is much less, right? So 1/10 or lesser. So it is necessary that we shift to plant-based products. So 800 liters of irrigated water is used to produce just 1 liter of milk. And dairy farms are actually subsidized, you know, by the government. So they enjoy a lot of all these facilities, but they are taking lot of water. 12% of the national water consumption is because of dairy farms. So if we all collectively take a decision not to eat animal products, we can save so much of the earth's resources. So you can see how much of water is used for every kilo, right? For every kilo of bovine means like beef, how much of water is needed? That's the one at the bottom. Then cheese and pork and chicken, eggs, soy, all these also are consumed a lot. But look at things like fruits and vegetables. They consume very, very less water. And if we are really concerned about summer, and the water levels going down, people not having water to drink, you can see how powerful diet is. The more fruits and vegetables we eat, the more we will be able to save the resources. So if we look at how much is the population of animals on this planet, humans are at 32%. And you see domestic animals, especially the chicken, the other forms like fish, then the cows and buffaloes and goats and all those things, they are at 65%. And because we are breeding them so much, and the forests have disappeared, the wild animals population has really shrunk, right? So it's just 3%, which is really shocking because even a few hundred of years back, we used to have thick forests, right? So this map shows what is the density of cattle in different countries around the world. And you can see that India has the highest. So lot of bovine population we have, lot of cow population we have. And after the cows are spent and they no longer are able to give milk, many of these cows are just abandoned on the streets or, just sent off to some goshala, where even the goshala people find it very difficult to maintain the diet of such big animals. So if you look at the usage of agricultural land, you see that most of the land which is being used for agriculture is for grazing and feeding of these animals. And whatever is being used by plants, by people who eat mainly plants, it's a very small amount. So what is being used up more is because of animal agriculture. So the World Wildlife Fund report, they themselves said that if everyone reduced the amount of animal products that they eat, then the total agricultural land required would decline by 13%. So we will not need so much land. And it says that 650 million hectares of land, which is 1.5 times of the European Union, would be saved from animal production, from agricultural production. So all this land can be returned back to forests. And if you even see the relationship between animal agriculture and food, as I said before, actually we are growing enough food already to feed up to 10 billion people. But most of that food today is being used up for livestock, for the animals we want to eat. So there is plenty of food for all of us if we eat only plants directly. So if our diet is simple, then if we can actually think about it, we will be able to ensure proper distribution of food to all parts of the planet, right? So we have to eat plants. That is the most environment friendly, the fastest and the easiest choice you can make. So if you give up meat and dairy and more plants, those plants will become trees because there are no species lurking around to eat them up. Then the trees become forests, and forests bring back animals. So all these animals which we have lost, we can get them back if we are able to get back forests. Animals and plants, they help to restore the ecosystem. So if once we start living in an area together and we have animals and plants, they help to restore the whole ecosystem and heal the planet. So, guys and girls, it's all in our hands. If we make the change, then others will follow it too. And once they change, don't stop the momentum. Keep spreading the message of love and compassion to everybody and help heal the planet. So we have to move from a culture of, a new cultural terms. Instead of saying Homo sapiens, we are actually Homo ahimsa. Instead of competition, it has to be collaboration. Instead of consumption, it should be about cooperation. Instead of monocultures, we should move towards biodiversity. Instead of ecological overshoot, that means using up more than what the planet can take care of. We have to move from that to ecological thrivability, from artificial scarcity to natural abundance. Actually, the earth is abundant. Whatever we need, we can get it. So this is what we need to change in our thinking. Then hierarchical versus cooperative. So we didn't want to be hierarchical, right? So we don't like that kind of order. Instead, we should cooperate with each other. Instead of conscious consumption, we should go for conscious consumption. We also should become conscious consumers and customers. So a lot of data is available on these websites: climate leaders, truth or drought, livestock's long shadow, conspiracies, movie, which I urge all of you to watch, and vegan street. So that's like a cartoon character, but it's very useful. Okay, so this is where I took a lot of this data from. I urge you also to go through this website and learn more. So tomorrow we will be ending the day with summary and feedback. It's going to be mainly Smita who will summarize all that we learned during this entire time period. So that's what I wanted to share today. If any of you is having any questions or any comments or anything which you felt was shocking or something you didn't know, you can talk about it. Or if you have any questions, please raise your hands. Any comments or any observations? If there are questions, you can put them on chat also. Okay, so I guess no questions. I really urge you to go and watch these documentaries, especially Seaspiracy, Cowspiracy. These are very important documentaries. A lot of the things we discussed is mentioned there too. There's a lot to learn from all these things, right? The destruction is happening all the time. It is up to us to uphold truth, to be the change we want to see. So if we change, there is a very, very big possibility others will also change. So thank you for joining today and showing your concern towards Mother Earth. If there are no questions, we will end the call now. Thank you and take care. Bye-bye.